Hi, everybody. So it's a slight change here. Hopefully, it's a little bit refreshing from all the delicious technical information we've been listening about. I'm Matthew, and welcome to Gateshead Energy Company, who is wholly owned and operated by the local authority. We are based up in the northeast of England. Um, we're looking at how we engage Gateshead with Minewater heat. On screen now is kind of a rough image showing you kind of where our heat network is, and it's primarily ran from Minewater. We are based just south of Newcastle, up there at the top, and we have 20 megawatts of generational assets. And that's been up and running now since 2019. And our ambition at Gateshead is to extend it and get to as many properties as possible in the area. We believe this will get us up to about 15,000 homes, which will it'll answer the government's call for heat networks to be about 20% of heat generation in England. So you can see here some of our generational assets. I hope you can see my mouse. If not, I'm wiggling down kind of center left there at our main energy center. Our Minewater heat pump down at the very bottom center, our solar farm, and some of our key anchor customers there. For those of you that like a table, we've condensed this for you. So we currently have about 50 businesses on here. But we've obviously got more meter points as such. A business may just be 1 meter point, and then they sort out the billing for each of their businesses within an office block, for example, such as a communal heat network, or it might be actual domestic dwellings. In red there, what you can see is kind of our target and our next schemes. This is where we're going to go into, for example, an extra 250 homes within the next 3 years, connecting town halls and various things like that. So we are a very ambitious scheme. But in order to capture these new markets or these new customers and to maintain our existing ones, we need to engage Gateshead with Minewater so that they understand it. So when we initially set out, to be honest with you, didn't really have a plan. We were a new energy company and we were based at a local authority. None of those skills came from anywhere, so we had to develop our own. So we turned to the internet and we did some self-assessment checklists. Other companies are available, but this is what we had at the time. And we really delved into what we needed, or we delved into what information people needed to understand Minewater, to accept it as a technology, and then to actually begin the process of installing it with us. So we initially looked at all part of kind of the construction phase because we felt that that was kind of already a pre-planned customer journey and we could bolt on easy to that. And this obviously gave us the benchmark for what we've worked on since then. So we did it plain and simple. We partnered up with Northumbria University and we went through and surveyed 660 residents in our next target area. And we did that through face-to-face on the door and interviews. We did questionnaires and all of the digital formats, social media. Here's myself sending out 600 letters. And we really did this en masse at once, and we made a presence in the area as well, so that if there was anybody who wanted to talk to face, we could do so. We also initiated some walkabouts and some tours of the actual site. So here you can see some residents actually participating in one where they actually got to see firsthand as kind of a pilot tour what the pipes look like above ground. We had Meet the Experts talking about solar, and we took them into the energy centres and the Minewater Centre so that they could actually see what was going on and what we were talking about. We used two models to capture all of this data and transfer it from qualitative into quantitative, one of them being the COM-B model. I don't have time to run through it, but essentially it's capability, motivation, opportunity, and behavior, and that allows you to put your results into certain different buckets and react upon that. But what the Combi model really does is kind of put it into a heat map. I do apologize that these aren't readable, um, but essentially you ask a question and you get a heat map based on the flavor of answer from a resident, a business, or a different stakeholder. Some examples here were opinions on choices of energy suppliers, environmental impact and sustainability. What were their preferences in the home and how did they actually use their existing heating systems? This still wasn't good enough, and we still need to define it more so we can actually act upon it. So we employed our second model, which is called the ADCAR model, which is by ProSci, and it defines it into five key areas, which really help you break down the problem. Those being awareness. Are people aware of the need to change or what you're doing, such as this mine water scheme in the area? Do they have a desire to connect into it, or what's in it for them? Is it cheaper for them? Is it more sustainable? What's that hot button topic that'll get them on board? Do they have the physical knowledge? Is there a resource somewhere for them to access this knowledge? Are they able to go on tours? Can they actually see the assets? In the case of district heating systems, typically no, it's all below ground. So you have to work on things like that. The ability, do they have the skills and the tools and the behaviors to understand? And how do we flavor what we're doing to meet those abilities? For example, in Gateshead, we actually discovered that the reading level was pretty low. So we had to change a lot of our actions towards that. And the last one is all encompassing, which is resistance. It's maintaining what you do, and ensuring that you're constantly pushing this message, pushing this story, but also in a circular way. So you're always getting feedback to kind of feedback into the system and start again. So the AdCall model allows you to break it down. Some examples on screen, although these might not be Minewater specific, they might be more general terms for the case of a presentation. But in terms of awareness, are people actually aware of the climate change and the things that we're trying to achieve with Minewater? Are they aware that they live in a Minewater area? Moving through to knowledge, how do residents reap the benefits of this Minewater? We've actually discovered that residents really don't care about climate change, but as soon as you start talking about mine water and the heritage of the area and using things which were previously kind of redundant, whether it was brownfield, they really start getting on board and actually participating in it. They like to see renewal, it seems. But in terms of knowledge, I've put a nice quote at the top from a resident. She said, "I don't need to know how to generate electricity. I just need you to tell me why I need it." And we've used that and pinned that on quite a lot of things that we do for Minewater. In a sense, what she's saying is don't overcomplicate it. I know I need heat in my home, but tell me why Minewater's great. What's it doing for the area? What's it doing for me? As we move through into desire, it breaks down even more. Physical impact is possibly our largest one. Um, People want to know what the disruption is. And with Minewater, it's actually fairly simple when we're talking about retrofitting to low-rise homes. In our pilot 16 homes, actually, when we reviewed the impact of the installation, it came out pretty decent, to say the least. They felt that they were really supported, and actually the change wasn't as frank as what they originally thought so. There's also things such as social change. It's how people use their heating, understanding that mine water is kind of a, to pardon the pun, a slower burn. You use it low and slow to keep your house warmer for longer, rather than, oh, it's a bit cold, let's blast it up to 25 degrees Celsius, and then turn it off and repeat that process. And similarly with ability, it's about providing those residents and businesses with the tools that they need. Um, do they have the digital access that they require? Answering questions around how they familiarize themselves with the new systems. Um, and also then the ability to talk about mine water to other people. Um, for those of you that don't know, in the Northeast, it's still quite a traditional area, and gossip on the doors between neighbours is still a very good way to get news around. So ensuring that the right information actually passes through that process of gossip um, is very important. And it's what's essentially helping us expand the message of Minewater and ultimately sustainability in Gateshead. We take this and then we need to actually make something out of it. And for this, we've used the DMAIC process for those of you who are familiar in project management. Define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And it was quite a comms plan piece, I'll be honest with you. As I say, we are still a fairly new energy company, and therefore we don't really have anything to fall back on. Actually, when we look at other metering and billing companies, such as Eon and things like that, typically they don't have very robust comms plans or information packs either. So actually, in the energy industry and specifically in the mine water industry, this is something that we're starting to develop almost as a first trial across England, really. So we began with the basics: websites, video communications, interacting with the community, schools on board, businesses, stakeholders, all the way down from central government through to our local government. Um, and we did it in a very, should I say, brave way. Because we weren't necessarily going to upset anybody, it was just a pilot. You'll see on screen that we used some very garish and some very crude methods for actually promoting the mine water scheme. And this stems from a few comments as we were interacting with the citizens. They were talking about, the overuse of literature and, nice flashy stuff might get lost in the mail when it's sitting on the mat. So because we were doing this as a pilot scheme, we wanted to test that to see if that actually worked. So we created these kind of hideous documents here to get the message through so we could actually interact with the residents. We also followed this up with one-to-one as we continue through. So here's some more examples of what we did to actually pass the message through. Um, and this again was based on all of that feedback from the community, from the businesses and the stakeholders about what really works for them, what do they need to know, again, based on that ADCAR model. This was the face-to-face stuff, sorry. So we went round to answer the call. People wanted to talk to us. They wanted to meet the experts and trust the actual people who were going to be coming into their homes. Quite rightly, I would want to as well. So we invited all of our principal contractors. We brought equipment. You can see a HRU system there, and we really broke it down into a simple and simple yet descriptive manner for the case that we were dealing with. We also went a bit further across the region. We're famous for mine history. You've heard from Michael, who was presenting Lanchester Wines, and Dave from Drill Corp. And because of that, we teamed up with our colleagues in those different areas. And I don't take credit for this. This was actually by the Discovery Museum, but we developed Steam to Green. And it is a museum and family exhibit with interactive pieces from all the different areas of a heat network, and specifically for us in Gateshead, mine water scheme. So it goes through air source heat pumps and beyond. And so far, in the first year that it's been running, we've had 103,000 attendees learning about mine water, its benefits, how it supports the environment, but actually also the economic development of it. Look at all these jobs that are behind it. Look at all the technology and the investment in the area. And they've come to realise that actually this £13 billion worth of investment in the northeast of England required to develop heat networks across it, it's actually a real thing and it's a real situation. It's not just a fantasy. And we continue through. We've embedded community at all parts. While a lot of the lovely people talking today have mentioned all the technicality parts, luckily in Gateshead, we have got that already done. We're now in that rollout phase and that maintaining phase. So at every point of the next chunk of rollout, we engage with the community to understand how they want it. It could be we're going down a road and we have to dig it up. Do the residents want new parking there? Do they want parking removed and more trees added? And it really builds this added value to the community. And these set of recommendations are what we embed into our strategy as we move through. To the point where even residents were talking about the HRUs on the outside. So typically a HRU would be this lovely kind of beige grey colour on the outside. Residents were concerned about the crime rate in the area, and they said, well, maybe it'll stand out too much, and it could be, a potential for thieves. So we, although it does need to discolor a little bit, we try to match the HRU to the brickwork or to the cladding of the building to help it disguise in more. The googly eyes and the Christmas hat were added on later. Those aren't standard issue, but it just proves the point that if residents are happy enough or businesses are happy enough to engage with us like this and actually make a little bit of fun of Minewater, we think we're doing it right. And as I say, this message will pass through the next 660 homes and onto the next 15,000 homes in the next 10 years-ish. So what comes next for Gateshead? Completing the resident feedback and integrating into our comms plans. We're testing this continuously. We're working with Masters of Communication at local universities, and we're continuing that in the rollout of the 660 homes, and we will repeat that there. My email address is at the bottom. We do also offer technical presentations at Gateshead Energy Company, so please reach out if you would like so.